shall not have it! Mine! Mine! Mine!
With the planar azimuth in pieces and a trinket in hand, we move to leave the forsaken church via a northeastern door. Curiously, another device awaits our arrival.
It will deliver you in time.
Exiting Avernus with the time-streaming device in hand, we find a nearby bat flight point and return to restore the pillars and learn more of this strange time-streaming device from the former Guardian of Balance, Ariel.
Before the Dimension Pillar, I lay the Eye of Azimuth. The pillar accepted its offering. Thus, it was restored.
Well done. You have found Mobius's toy. Azimuth, not content with summoning demonic thrall, stole the time-streaming device in order to gather creatures from other ages as well. Take care of the device, Kain. It will deliver you in time. The legions of the Nemesis are on the march from the north, crushing all in their path. 'Twas not too long ago that the Nemesis was known as William the Just, a caring and gentle benefactor of the land. But as his army grew in strength and he himself grew in power, the veil of tyranny fell, and one kingdom was not enough. So many cities, so many dead. Willendorf will be sure to follow. The Nemesis must be stopped, or all shall be lost.
How can one stop an army?
You must rally the forces of Willendorf. They are the last hope of Nosgoth.
With Ariel's guidance, we pause to look at Mobius's former toy.
Time-streaming device.
Sensing our path has deviated thanks to the bitter war Nosgoth is embroiled in, we begrudgingly take upon our task anew to aid Willendorf against the Nemesis. Its city lies south of Avernus, and so we follow the path out of the city's outskirts, met with brigands anew. We pause in our slaughter to contemplate.
The spectre of Ariel led me to Willendorf. If I was to defeat the next member of the Circle, I needed to understand his machinations. With this vague advice in mind, I set forth on the road to Willendorf.
Ve Victus!
Heading east, we find ourselves in the path of a local knight of the city, duty-bound to attempt to thwart the lingering danger of an errant vampire to his own peril. As we feast on his blood, we find the familiar voice of our benefactor, Mortanius, who bears grim tidings.
Strange, isn't it, Kain, that one cannot quite accept that which sustains him. You in your death, and me in mine. But death cannot reign in a world without life. And soon you will find the quest ahead of you is yours and yours alone. I can assist you no longer.
Left alone now entirely, we pause to see the upcoming trials ahead.
Willendorf, proud defender of the realm with its warrior elite and mighty ruler, King Ottmar. The Lion Throne had once held my allegiance, but Willendorf's days of glory had passed. It was the last bastion against an unruly future.
Resuming our wolf form, we bound to the east, dodging another knight and entering a nearby cave to the north. Inside, we see the walls are smattered with blood, indicative of intruders caught by the deluge of arrows that rain endlessly. Up ahead, we see what the traps are guarding, with a picture on the ground denoting the Spirit Rack Dungeon. Inside the musty dungeon, we find our prize below and inaccessible. It's only by leveraging the mind control ability do we obtain its counterpart.
With this spell, I can tear a creature's soul from its body, leaving its vacant flesh mine to control.
Activating the ability, we use our enemies as pawns, allowing us to possess their form and exit the cave, bounding down the path and ignoring the dreary denizens and guards alike to find another cave below of an equally important blood fountain.
The blood of ages flows so sweet. Come, drink from us. Your strength has increased, for our blood enhances.
Now, with our strength enhanced, we loop back up the eastern path and see a sign that reads,
Mighty Willendorf had sliced open the belly of the earth, reaping a bounty of precious metals and unearthing ancient secrets. Of these secrets, I had heard of a tomb that contained an ancient forefather of King Ottmar himself. Within the tomb, a fountain of blood would allow me to cast the most noble of illusions and gain entry to the city of the mighty lion.
Heading up the trail, we find we're now able to move aside the previously impassable boulder. Entering the cave to the east, inside we see a familiar picture of Kain holding a mask in front of his face. The dungeon's prize, buried neath a working mine shaft, now catering to the Empire's need of precious ores it holds. Unfortunately, the fountain below is equally as prized, and we cut a path through workers and guards alike to obtain the contents of its blood fountain that lies deep in its bowels.
The blood of ages flows so sweet. Come, drink from us.
Unlike the Mask of Disguise, this spell actually allows me to cast away the guise of death for a time, allowing me to walk among the living undisturbed. The spell also provides a visage of nobility, for there are many who would easily divulge more to those of high-born blood.
Exiting the final cave with disguise intact, we find ourselves on the eastern portion of Willendorf. As a somewhat predictable aside, Willendorf is a sizable location worth exploring. However, for expediency's sake and the pressing matter of the Circle and the Nemesis spelling Nosgoth's doom, we forego the urge to pilfer each individual abode's contents. Instead, momentarily, we stop by Willendorf's library found to the south. Once inside, we comment.
The great library of Willendorf, filled with dull tomes of trite accounts by pompous historians about matters that couldn't possibly be of interest to anyone but themselves.
In the northern room of the archives, we do happen to stumble upon quite an interesting piece of literature regarding the nature of the Circle's guardians.
The book spoke of the birth of the Circle. The Circle served the Pillars, protectorates to the strange power that gives life to our land. At the unlikely death of a member, the Circle remains broken for a time until the Pillars can cull a worthy successor. I came upon another book of interest, buried deep amongst the library tomes. It spoke of a small cult that existed in Nosgoth ages past. Wherever they travelled, strange tales of human possession would follow. Little is known of the god they worshipped.
Heading north, we find the proud lion's den. However, entering with our regal front intact, we see Ottmar's once befitting sigil belies a broken man atop a throne.
The court of King Ottmar, shades of my former existence, proud and self-absorbed, surrounded by all the finery of the realm, secure in their ignorance. As I walked among them, I smirked, thinking of the carnage that would befall them at the hands of the legions of the Nemesis, the glorious flames, and the inevitable rape and pillage. Out of my way, peasant! The stench of the fields hangs over you like a pall.
The king sees no one. He is in mourning for the princess.
He'll be in mourning for his kingdom soon, and he'll mourn for you even sooner if you don't get out of my way! And so I won my audience, such as it was, with Ottmar. He cared not for the invading armies from the north, only of the plight of his child.
A birthday present. To celebrate her birthday, I declared a contest. Whoever created the finest doll in the realm would be granted a royal favor. Hundreds of dolls were brought, but the winner was obvious. Elzevir the Dollmaker created a toy of such beauty that all were captivated by it. And all he would take in payment was a lock of her hair. Soon after, she became like this, a lifeless puppet. Whoever restores her to her former self shall have this kingdom.
Thus, my hunt for the Dollmaker began.
My daughter. I fear I shall never hear her delicate laugh again. Oh.
Ottmar slumped on his throne like a rag doll, his beard matted with tears of his own self-pity. In my court, he would have long since been usurped by one stronger, but in Willendorf they worshipped him, even in his weakness. I wondered what Willendorf would do when Ottmar's death finally arrived.
With one step forward and two steps back, we begin our new objective, to hunt down this toy maker, thanks to a western underground path found near the exit of the castle that supposedly leads directly to his lair.
Through whispers of the court, I learned that the army of the Last Hope, Willendorf's proud militia, was in no condition to fight the invading legions of the Nemesis. They were busy scouring the lands to the north in search of the Dollmaker and Ottmar's daughter. I also learned of a tunnel, which would take me rapidly from Willendorf to the suspected area.
Although the guards swarm us as our noble guy slips, our purpose takes precedence, and we stride through the castle's narrow halls and emerge to a wholly different scene. Finding ourselves in the wretched cold on the western side of a fortress, the Nemesis guards, garbed in demonic red armor, rush to meet us in battle.
Be victorious!
After stunning and feeding on a few sentries, we begin to succumb to the bitter cold, lamenting.
Even the gentle snowfall is lethal to a vampire's well-being.
With quick thinking, we use the mind control spell on a guard atop the ramparts, forcing his clone with commands to unlock the door with a lever on both sides. After which, our entry is wide open, and we feast on a glut of soldiers inside, slaking our thirst before entering the tower's dungeon, re-emerging on the other side, and shifting into our beast form before being swarmed by the many minions of the Nemesis who lie in wait. Racing up the northern path, we discover we've emerged near a bloody remains of another city.
This was once the most academic of cities, housing some of the most prestigious universities in all of Nosgoth. While I would not weep over lost tomes, I detested the sight of scars left upon the world at the hands of the Nemesis.
To the east, we loop around its wooden stake wall, dexterously ducking between buildings and dodging the army that has taken up residence. Once the heart of Nosgoth's academia, Stalberg suffered greatly at the hands of the Legion of the Nemesis, whose warriors patrol the streets. Bodies litter the road, and the smell of death is everywhere. And so we make our visit short, moving north, seeing a gargantuan statue erected in the visage of the Nemesis. We then head west through his makeshift tent encampment of his soldiers, and find a single beast guarding an impassable steel gate, host contending with the ragged guard. We then leverage the holes in the tattered fabric, seeing another of its kin meandering about and casting Rack Mind to take control of the bizarre creature. His doppelganger easily unlocks the gate in the process. Heading north of the icy field ahead, we finally find the sprawling abode of the infamous toy maker. The interior littered with odd dolls, toy bears, and other creations left to gather dust. The music then changes to an unsettling melody that perhaps was meant to amuse a child. However, it takes on a more sinister tone, more aptly described as a trance or lullaby of a madman. As we traverse the perverse palace of the lunatic, we learn at closer inspection the beasts we burned outside were mere puppets to this toy maker, bound to serve his every whim. A rather grim fate and twisted as any creation that we'd seen thus far at the hands of the Circle. Plumbing its depths, we finally encountered the deranged toymaker in his queer workshop of horrors.
Elzevir, I have come for the soul.
So, Ottmar sent you to kill me, eh? I can smell him on you. Or is that the stench of the grave?
Dollmaker, I have no time for these games.
The soul is mine! I earned it! Ottmar gave it to me!
Then you shall earn it with blood.
You shall not have it! Mine! Mine! Mine!
As the Dollmaker paces the room, shouting and throwing sewing needles, he touches piles of rags which turn into his rag dolls. These are swiftly dispatched with a flame sword which burn them up. Otherwise, they simply reconstitute after being hit. However, every time we strike the Dollmaker, as projectiles will do him no damage, a teddy bear emerges from the cupboard and attacks us. These explode when touched, hence why we need to hit them at the farthest reach of our sword, or when in a protective cocoon of magic to avoid taking damage. Finally, after enough hits, the Dollmaker loses his head.
What an odd little man. Now, to find the soul.
Stepping over his corpse, we explore the northern room to find it is the bastard's boudoir, in which he slept ever so snugly with the gruesome patchwork doll holding the soul of Ottmar's daughter. Upon retrieving the doll, we comment.
Elzevir imprisoned the girl's soul in a small fabric doll. The old man's intentions I shall never know.